I know this is sort of an odd topic, but I've been thinking about it a lot recently, and I wanted to talk about it. To preface this video, I'm not trying to make some grand point or anything, merely offering my opinion on the state of things. I don't expect any great change or whatever, but I at least hope we can get some kind of dialogue going. But anyway, let's get started. I've already talked about it a bit in the past, but I find that War Thunder's community is much more toxic than average. I get that War Thunder is a modern multiplayer game, and everyone will say it's par for the course, or they'll say something about Modern Warfare 2 lobbies being far worse. I have to wholeheartedly disagree. As far as being aggressive, the communities for other games I've played never stood out to me. Probably the worst was Chivalry, and I'm sure veterans of that game can agree, but even Chivalry wasn't that bad compared to War Thunder. Sure, if you beat someone in a duel, they might say something derogatory about your mother, but you're more likely to make friends with an enemy, especially if they're playing E1M1 on a loot. And before that gets taken out of context, no. I'm not saying you should make friends with enemy tanks. Chivalry is much more casual. In War Thunder, you'll probably just upset your teammates. Not only is the average person more toxic in War Thunder, but the more extreme cases are especially egregious. Players telling others they should end their own life, hating people for the nation they play, threatening the developers, serialized team killing, and much more, all on an alarmingly regular basis. So why is the community like this? I believe there are a few root causes. In my personal experience, military-oriented communities tend to be more aggressive and spiteful overall. I do think nationalism plays the largest part in that, but I don't think it's the sole reason. There seems to be this sort of elitism, where if you get something regarded as common knowledge incorrect, you'll get torn to shreds over it. This extends to opinions as well. Instead of just calmly explaining why they disagree, people act like the offender is a moron. Circling back to nationalism, it certainly is a major player. People grow up hearing that certain tanks, usually the ones their nation uses, are the best in the world. When they start playing the game, they carry those expectations with them, and largely stick to playing in that nation. There are definitely some exceptions to that rule though. As far as German mains are concerned, I bet the majority are Americans, not Germans. Regardless, people go off and form their own camps, becoming hostile to other groups. The War Thunder subreddit's a good example. I know it's a bad platform, but that's besides the point. It seems like half the content on that sub comes from US mains fighting with German mains. It's just an endless back and forth of you're bad. No, you're bad. I hate seeing it not only because it's childish and grating, but because I know I've contributed towards it. So let me clear something up real quick. On average, German tank players typically are worse at low to mid tiers. They start to become average in the post-war era. That's not me just making a guess or trying to poke fun. When we complained about the M48A2 going to 6.7, that is the exact reason we got from Gaijin. But to be perfectly clear, this problem is not exclusive to Germany. The exact same thing happens with American Air. At low to mid tier, American aircraft are very under-tiered, just as German tanks are. In the Tiger problem video, I blamed it on the Tiger's reputation, which it partially is, but it's not the main cause. New tank players typically choose a German tech tree first. I'm sure this happens in other tech trees, but it's not as notable. It's to the point where if someone sees you main a nation, they'll use it as an excuse to disregard your opinion. Like, oh, you prefer playing this nation? You must have a bias then. If you disagree with somebody, just explain why. You don't need to smite them with a logical fallacy. If they are actually biased, then just move on. You're not going to convince them, so it's just a waste of time. And of course, how Gaijin manages the game plays a huge part in it. They make the game frustrating on purpose. Everyone already knows that by now. They do enable people to play in annoying ways, but that doesn't mean you have to take it out on somebody. Don't send death threats to the player or the developers. Don't send death threats to anybody, even if you are joking. Just leave polite and well thought out feedback wherever you can. Look, I know people are going to get upset, and say I'm acting all high and mighty. I've certainly been toxic before. I think everyone has at some point, but I'm just worn out. I'm at a point of apathy with the game itself, but the constant infighting within the community is tiring. Anyway, I hope at least some of you agree and enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one.